So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Montgomery County Taxpayers League meeting with Councilwoman Natalie Fani-Gonzalez. My name is Esther Wells, and I am the president of the Montgomery County Taxpayers League, for short, MCTL. And joining us on the screen is Gordon Brenny. He's our treasurer, and also some of our members and guests have joined, and of course, the woman of the hour, Councilwoman Natalie Fani-Gonzalez. And so just a little background about us. You can check out our website, www.mctaxpayersleague.org. You can also, follow us on social media on Facebook, MCTL, or Twitter at MoCo Taxpayers. So the mission of the MCTL is to educate and advocate for county taxpayers. We support appropriate actions to achieve greater efficiencies and effectiveness in Montgomery County government and tax equity for Montgomery County taxpayers. We've hosted previously Board of Education Chair Lynn Harris from MCPS Board of Education, who is the chair of the Fiscal Management Committee. Today, we are meeting again with Councilwoman Natalie Fani-Gonzalez, who is the chair of the Economic Development Committee. And in the fall, once the council comes back into session, we plan to meet with Council President Glass and also Board of Education members, President Silvestre and others, to ultimately focus on the budget. Right, so MCTL, we focus on the county council budget and the Board of Education budget to just bring some transparency, awareness, and educate community members about the implications it will have on their personal finances. So definitely, again, check us out on our website where you will get all of this information at mctaxpayersleague.org. And so if you would like to join or get involved, please do that. We are looking for some board members, some of our leaders, our committee chairs, volunteers. We will be in the community. If you're aware of community events, please reach out to us. We'll love to be there and to connect with community members as well. And so a little bit about our Councilwoman, Natalie Fani-Gonzalez. She brings deep local government experience and a strong background on economic opportunity for all to the Montgomery County Council. Until August of 2021, Natalie was the vice chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board, the local agency that regulates real estate development, plans transportation infrastructure, and manages the park system. During her 7 years on the planning board, Natalie was a key player in supporting the growth of the county's life sciences sector through master plans in the Great Seneca Science Corridor, White Flint, and Bethesda. With a particular focus on addressing the needs of small, local, and immigrant-owned businesses, she also helped steer the county government and infrastructure policy, Ferris Mill Corridor Master Plan, Montgomery Hills, Forest Glen Sector, the Mark Rail Community Sector Plan, and the Bicycle Master Plan, among many others. Most notable is that Washington Magazine honored Natalie as one of the 40 under 40 changemakers in Washington, D.C. region, and then named her as a woman to watch. She is a 2021 recipient of the state citation by Governor Larry Hogan for community efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic, helping vulnerable communities. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Councilwoman Natalie, to do any quick intros and to, make us aware of anything that's important that we should know.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Esther. And I spent a lot of time with your mom when I was running for office, and she's awesome. Please tell her I said hi. She was really cool to be with at the Wheaton early voting site. I don't know. I think you said it all. Look, guys, I'm not a genius. I do great or better, I would say, when I hear from people's concerns and I hear from your ideas to make things happen. I am not the type of person who thinks I know everything. I think that everyone in this world is learning every day. And I'm just grateful to be here, to be in this country that I love and I call home. As you know, I'm the only immigrant on the county council. And for me, that's a huge responsibility to make sure that, that we present ourselves in a manner that, shows that we respect this nation. And we're grateful to be here. What else I can say? My husband is a former Marine, a disabled veteran, and I love my community. I have lived in District 6. As you know, my district is anything from Forest Glen to Aspen Hill. So you have an idea. And I live right in the middle. I live in Wheaton. I've been in this district. I've been living in this district for over 20 years. I moved in right after high school, first in Aspen Hill for many years, then Kensington Heights, and then here in Wheaton for almost 10 years at this point. So this is my home, and I just want to make sure that I do my very best to make sure that we thrive as a community, regardless of your income level, regardless of where you were born, regardless of your beautiful accent, and so on and so forth. So I mostly here to hear from you, and I can also, if you want, talk about the future meetings that I'm planning to have on the Economic Development Committee. I can do that, and also take your ideas too. So it's this is not just great for you, but also great for me. And it's these type of things work best when it's a conversation. So please just feel free to jump in. And I'm probably the most informal person on the county council. Maybe that's a bad thing, but that's just how I am. And I don't know, we can start however you want, or if you want me to tell you what I have next in my agenda for economic development, it's really up to you.
Yes, please, if you'd like to share your Economic Development Committee, maybe the genesis of why the council thought it was needed, and maybe what we should look forward to, and then we can get into some Q&A.
Well, yeah, that's great. Actually, I could give you a preview, because what I'm about to tell you, I'm gonna share with my committee on Thursday. We meet on Mondays and Thursdays, so even my committee members, meaning Marilyn Balcom, Lorian Sales, and Evan Glass, they don't even know this information. So here it is. So for the upcoming meetings in September, October, and November, the first one and I'm looking at my calendar right now, on September 11, we're gonna have a session just on the state of the office market. So the panel that I'm putting together, it's basically reps, not only landlords, but it's a mix between the people who have done analysis on the office market, and also people who own offices, so they can provide their experience and what kind of things do we need to do in Montgomery County to move us forward. And hoping that after this session, we can come up with policy ideas, things that we need to do, especially after the pandemic, things that we need to do as a county to really respond in a positive way to support of our office market. So stay tuned. I think that's going to be one of the highlights in the fall. So that's September 11. And then on that same day, I'm going to have the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation talk about the retention strategy. So what I'm doing is I want to talk about retention and attraction, but what I did is dividing these two topics. So retention is going to be on September 11 alongside with the office market, and then attraction will be on October 9. The reason why I decided to do that is because when you have a big topic like that and you talk about retention and attraction, it's so easy to lose sight on what things that we need to do as a county. But if you separate them, you can say, okay, on retention, we should be doing this. On attraction, we should be doing this. Otherwise, it's really confusing, at least in my view. So I'm doing that. Then on October 23rd, we are going to be talking about the restaurant sector, that industry. I've been doing, so the Department of Permitting Services is under my committee on economic development. And some of the things that we have heard, and I knew this coming from parking planning, so it wasn't news to me, is how challenging it is for businesses to get approval from the permitting service office. It shouldn't be that difficult, especially for those who own restaurants. So what I did once I became chair of that committee, Robbie is the director of permitting services. He's also brand new. So in a way, it's a great thing that I'm new and he's new. So what I did is I told him that I wanted to do a tour of different businesses in the county who have had challenges with DPS. He said yes. So among those businesses have been restaurants. And it has really broken my heart because there have been businesses like throughout the county where People have waited up to 6 months waiting for a permit from either DPS or HHS, because remember, HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, they're the ones who control the permitting for food. Anything that is withheld is through them. Can you imagine opening a business and not being able to sell or open your doors and waiting for 6 months? Meanwhile, you're paying rent, you're paying your lease. So I have heard those stories from business restaurants in Wheaton to Bethesda to Germantown. The last one I visited was in Germantown I would say like 3 weeks ago. And it's always the same story. So it's digging into this industry and see how we as a county, what kind of things we should be doing that. There's one thing that I have in my head and we're going to be discussing that day. So if you are planning to open a restaurant, there's so many places that you need to be to require those permits, including DPS and HHS. I feel, and I could be wrong, I'm just telling you my idea, that it should be like one place for you to go, because it gets really confusing. There's not even a checklist, and I requested that the other day to discuss it over this session. Maybe the permit from HHS for a restaurant should be housed under the DPS department instead of the HHS department. That's how Prince George's County is doing it. Okay, so we're gonna be discussing that that day on in this session, and it's bad, you know, for everyone, but especially bad for immigrants. And I'm just gonna say, I mean, the language barrier. I mean, this whole thing is chaos. Add to the whole formula, not speaking English very well. And and as you know, Montgomery County is a melting pot. You can go in my district, Wheaton. Just talk about Wheaton. You can find, honestly, I honestly believe that we have the best restaurants in Montgomery County. You can find Thai, African, you know, food from Salvador to Peru. They're all different. And people say Latino food. That's like nonsense. We're all very different. You can find everything here. And we need to make it easier for people to do those transactions, to do business here. So that's a very important one. If you have ideas, please send them my way. Another really cool one session that we're going to have is on November 6th. And I mentioned that today, actually, that one. We just approved the oh my God, I'm just so tired. The rural roads in App County, the master plan, and the idea of having decision will be on agrotourism, making sure that think about farms that deal with wineries or, you know, growing, you know, any vegetable, fruit that you can imagine. How we as a county can maximize agrotourism in Montgomery County. So that session will be on November 6th, and we're gonna have it in App County. I refuse to have it in our offices in Rockville. So I made I made that announcement today. The location is to be announced. I'm not gonna announce it yet because we are finalizing the agreement with this particular site. The site has to have the technology that we need to streamline everything. But stay tuned. For sure, it will be App County. And then let me see what else I can tell you. I think those are like the big ones. And I will say this other one. The sports industry. Okay, so the sport industry is $1 billion industry. Not just think about the athletes, but think about medical athletes, like, you know, doctors who treat athletes. Think about field management, like for the athletic fields. Think about that industry. That's all about STEM. Think about, I mean, there's so many things that you can touch on that industry, and I don't think Montgomery County has ever really focused on that. So I'm gonna have a session on that, and I'm also talking, so, you know, and Esther, I think you're gonna be happy about this one, but I've been talking to CPS and Montgomery College. Yeah, because I think the goal should be building a pipeline, sorry for my accent, from, you know, Montgomery County public schools all the way to college for kids to focus on this. Maybe they can say, let me give you one example. Let's just say that I love playing soccer, which I do. And so if you're a soccer player, you shouldn't just be concerned about how good you play soccer and the technique to play soccer, but you should have an understanding of the field where you play soccer. There's a lot of science into that, making sure that you understand the stormwater management that goes into a field. And I come from the Park and Planning Commission, so I have a strong background on stormwater management and anything that deals with athletic fields. So believe me, I have a PhD on that already. But getting kids excited about it, I mean, that to me, if you combine that with the whole discussion that MCPS has about absenteeism, kids not going to school because of whatever, they don't feel excited. But let's do our best to make it excited, and for them to see that we all have potential to do great things and things that you don't even think about it. So right now, Montgomery College, they have a program with MCPS on landscaping. Who wants to sign up for that? I don't want to sign up for that. But you tell me it's about field management and you talk about baseball and soccer and lacrosse. Shoot, I'm going to get excited. So I shared that information with Dr. Williams. He's the president of Montgomery College. He was very excited. So I'm just hoping that he and Dr. McKnight, truly embrace this, because I can't do it alone if you're not on board. But I'm doing my best to get them on board. I'm going to be meeting with them in the fall ahead of this session that I'm going to have in my committee. So that's on that. And then I know I'm talking a lot, but I will end with this one before Q&A. I love the arts and entertainment. As you may know, I grew up in South America, in Venezuela. My dad did not go beyond 3rd grade. My mom did finish high school, and I'm the only one that went to college from my family. So, so my dad never read me a book ever, not even once, but he did play the accordion and I did play piano. And I think that honestly, it might sound crazy, but really changed how I see things and how I communicate. Music, it does really good things for your health and relaxes you. So as you may know, Wheaton is an arts and entertainment district designated by the state. But, in previous years, they really haven't done anything with that designation. So I'm just reactivating the advisory board for the Wheaton and Arts Entertainment District. I already sent the names of the people that I want on this board. There are people who live in my district who have an expertise in the arts and economic development and all that good stuff. I asked the superintendent of MCPS to see if I could have a rep from MCPS, especially knowing that Einstein High School and Mary Loderman Middle School, they have arts magnet programs, so they can be involved. And she was very excited, so that makes me excited. So the official announcement is going to come in September. And again, nobody knows about this. This is the announcement. I haven't even shared this with my committee. So anyway, so this committee will be in charge. It's going to be about 15 people. They're going to be in charge of finding what's the best model for Wheaton. Is it going to be an arts and entertainment with a 501c3, or is it going to be a partnership? What's the model? Because the goal is for this committee to help us get more funding, because as you may know, the government cannot pay for everything. Right. So there's a lot of money at the federal level in philanthropy that we can bring in. And also, as you may know, with the county executive, we're having this new development in Wheaton. It's an arts and entertainment center combined with affordable housing. And my dream, and I'm pushing for this, is to have some of this housing be dedicated for artists, so we can truly make Wheaton a destination for artists. I think that's a win-win for everybody, and having affordable housing in the same development is great, because you want kids to be exposed just like I was exposed to it. So anyway, those are my dreams, and I'm working hard to make them a reality. I am a workaholic, and my husband knows that, my kids know that, and again, I'm trying to be engaged and be proactive as much as I can, but I cannot do this work by myself. And I need people to help me. And I have always said that. And anyway, those I know that was a lot of information, but that's where I'm up to.
Yeah, no, that's all great information. And thank you for sharing that and giving us the first kind of tea into all the things that you're thinking and doing. So we really appreciate you know, setting that expectation of what more to come. So we will definitely engage. And so for everyone that has joined, please raise your hand or submit your questions in the chat if you'd like to ask questions of our Councilwoman Fani-Gonzalez. I do have one. Well, we have some pre-submitted questions from members and attendees. So maybe I'll ask our first question, and then I see your hand, Stacy, and then I will turn to you. Or is your question a continuation of Natalie's comment?
Well, no, I have one comment, and then I have a few questions, Natalie, and that was on your field management training. Don't forget golf.
Yes, yes, you're right. Yes, I won't forget it. Thank you, because I was thinking cricket, baseball, soccer. I did not put golf in my list, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Okay, good.
Okay, awesome. So I will ask our first question, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Stacy. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So first, we definitely wanted to jump back into MCPS. You know, as previously, I ran for Board of Education, and so this is definitely something that I continue to pay attention to, having 2 children in MCPS. And so at your first Economic Development Committee in January this year, you highlighted some of Governor Moore's intentions and his visions. And so under education, Governor Moore has stated he wants to end poverty, child poverty in Maryland, which directly impacts MCPS. And so evidence of learning with student performance, I know as part of that initial meeting, when you kind of set the tone and the vision for the Economic Development Committee, I was just like, you know, so excited to hear everything you said. And today you reiterated it about the workforce and how that is the pipeline and the children are the future. And so it's critically important that we get to, you know, the elementary school and then follow those children all the way through the workforce. And so some of the questions that you posed at that initial meeting were, you know, how MCPS is closing, how does MCPS plan on closing the achievement gap, particularly in communities that are falling behind? How is MCPS tracking the progress of our students? How long will it take to make transformational impact with our students? And so you just listed out, I think it was like 7 or 8 items, while also sharing your PowerPoint from MCPS Evidence of Learning. Can you just kind of update us on some of the answers or responses you've had with the working sessions that you have with MCPS, or, you know, how are we doing with closing that achievement gap? How confident are you that the Economic Development Committee is helping to mold what that should look like?
Well, number one, I'm pretty sure that I scare the heck out of them. Because I did, and I even mentioned it, and I'm so glad that you sometimes I don't think anybody watches these hearings.
I'm the one little eye that's on there.
Thank you. Thank you. And I thank you for following up. I also brought it up during the budget. And so after the budget and what I said during the Economic Development Committee, they said that with the money that we gave them in this budget season, they have they're putting funds to help teachers help students, especially 3rd graders, on their math and literacy. So that was a commitment that was mentioned during their school board meeting. And I follow up with the school system and they say yes. So what I'm doing, and I know this is going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. I know that. I have 2 kids in elementary school. I know. But it's tracking how the state, especially the state exams that the kids take, the MAP tests, how that's improving. Hopefully it is.
Right.
They are working with a particular, I don't know if they have released this information, but they're about to hire a private institution to assist MCPS on these issues, to help kids perform well on math and literacy. You know what? I can send you the PowerPoint, a response letter that they sent to me.
You're talking about tutoring.
yeah, but it's more than just tutoring. It's really working with the kids to ensure that they're truly understanding what they're receiving.
Right.
And I personally, this is me as an individual, I don't just go, and as a mom, I don't just go by the report card. I go by the MAP test, because that's when you truly check how the school or the kids are comparing with other schools and with the state versus the report card that, maybe the teacher will give the kid an A,
Right.
but then when you see the the math in MAP, the kid is failing. It's like, how do you
That's right.
explain that? So to me, I'm very clear
That's
on that
right.
one. Nobody's gonna fool me on that one.
Mhm.
So, and those are conversations that I've been having with different school board members, because at the end of the day, this is very frustrating for me, because we give them the money
Right.
and it's like we don't have any say, and
Right.
it's like, my God. So I'm using my position, I'm pushing with what I'm doing right now on the mat to embarrass them. Really, I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm embarrassing them and CPS so they can know that we have a problem. Not even on that, on the absenteeism, I made news with Moco 360 on the McDonald's in Glenmont.
Right.
It really bothers me that, and it's not happening anymore.
Oh.
But after that article, okay, that's when they're like, oh shoot. And I have been truly grateful with Montgomery County Police Department. Captain David Smith, he's the commander for District 4 around the police districts.
Mhm.
That man is my BFF.
Oh.
That man is wonderful. Honestly,
Okay.
he's somebody, I talk to him at least twice a week. And so since I, joined the county council in December, the issue with fentanyl, the overdose, have been my number one issue. Really, people have no idea, but that has been my number one issue, and I can give you some updates on that if you want to. He has been my ally, coordinating with the McDonald's, the headquarters, and then CPS, and pushing them to
Right.
ensure that. And we added a police camera on that parking lot where the McDonald's is, to
Okay.
identify the bad actors who are selling drugs to our kids and all that good stuff. A lot of progress have been done. And you don't do this by yourself. You do this when you create partnerships. And that man, I'm telling you, he's a partner. And then and also having McDonald's in this case. I mean, there are many other cases, but in this particular case, pushing the McDonald's corporation to really be involved, because we can't do this if the business is not involved in letting us, to be present inside the business, not just outside in the parking lot, in NCPS and as well. So I'm pushing hard. I'm not on the school board, but sometimes I feel that I am.
Right. Right. You're an ex officio potentially.
But no, it's mostly also because I have kids.
That's right. It's personal.
Yeah, and my
And
kids
that's what's important.
exactly. My kids go to these schools.
That's
My
right.
homeschool is Northwood High School. My all this is going to Odessa Shannon. I mean, this it's personal to me to get the stuff fixed before, as soon as. What if my kids, like anybody, any of these kids can get into drugs? That's the scary
Right.
thing. It can happen to anybody,
Mhm.
any kid.
Mhm.
So it is very personal. And on the fentanyl crisis, I mean, I'm telling you, the first phone calls that I received from the community was on that issue. Making sure that we're helping and working in coordination with the police and HHS. The first meeting that the county had with the state on their Governor Westmore on this issue on fentanyl was because I schedule it. Okay. People don't know that because I don't put everything on Twitter. I do not. Twitter is toxic, by the way, social media in general. So I just put little things. I don't put everything. But I'm on it.
Good.
I went all over the place, so my bad.
No, that's good. But just probably the last point before I turn over to Stacey is on behalf of MCTL, I think you're right on track when it comes to closing the achievement gap and tying that into, the investment that taxpayers are making in excess of the maintenance of effort. We really want to see some direct correlation between that and how the funds are truly being invested to, again, ensure our future workforce is ready for career college or community. So you're spot on. So definitely keep up that good fight. And we really thank you for that. So I'll turn it over to Stacy.
First of all, thank you so much for your time tonight. And I'm sure you're feeling drained. So, and you've got kids and family and you're hungry. So this is really important and special to have you here. Several things. One is, I mean, this is kind of coming from a selfish point of view. The first thing is that I have two clients, one of whom is, and I would love to send you some of her information, but she has developed a small version, very portable of Narcan for the fentanyl overdose. And she is planning to have it manufactured here in Montgomery County. And I'm a realtor. And so she reached out to me because she was looking for warehousing to set this business up. And she's looking for, 20,000 to 40,000 square feet. I don't do commercial. So I turned her over to someone else, but I said to her, let me do some digging around and see if I can find what kind of benefits the county might have for you. But this is a very well-developed business that it's gotten FDA approval. And so would you be willing to talk to her?
Yes, send her my way. I'm going to put my email in the chat.
Okay, perfect. That's number one. Okay. And then the second thing is I have another client I'm working with who is opening up a business in downtown Bethesda. It is an upscale nail salon where they're going to have a spa, serve champagne, blah, blah, blah. He said it has been such a nightmare dealing with the inspectors. He will never open another business in Montgomery County again. He said, for example, they came in and said that he had to, instead of using the standard washer and dryer that you see in all nail salons, he had to get a commercial grade, which cost him, I think, $3,000 more per appliance for the commercial grade that's doing the exact same thing. And then it held him up in terms of getting opened. And he was actually talking about opening up a beer garden. And I was talking to him about the agritourism, and he and his partners wanted to open up a beer garden in the county. And he said, after this experience, there's no way they will open up another business in this county. So he might be another person. And he also, by the way, excuse me, one sec, I'm sorry. He is, and his partners actually I told him about Thrive. And I said, I think that there's a great opportunity for you. One of his partners is a builder. And I said to get into building or converting homes into duplexes or triplexes or whatever. And I had reached out to Chris Marston with the Department of Permitting. I met him a couple of months ago when I had a septic issue for another property. Anyway, great guy, but I haven't heard back from him. I wanted to find out, and maybe you can answer, who the key person would be to talk to get more information about permitting for those conversions.
Okay, so on all those cases, send them my way, especially a nail salon. One of the things that we're doing, and I'm gonna have a retail session in ECON as well. I told you about the office market, but also the retail market will be too. The number one message that I want to make sure that you guys also spread with your networks: people should contact the county before they sign a lease. In this tour that I'm doing with DPS, honestly, lots of people, business folks, especially those who have never done a business, that this is their first business, they sign leases without knowing that their business can be done in that particular location, and it's heartbreaking. So yeah, that's one. But send them my way. On the duplexes and triplexes, it depends on the area. Remember, Thrive 2050 is a vision. So after the vision, we got to work on different sector plans. But there are places in Montgomery County already where you can have duplexes, depending on the master plan. Like in Bethesda, you could have them. So if the person that you're talking to wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to connect them with a planning department, and they can indicate that where there are places where this can happen already. There is the and I will tell you, like, it's mostly the master plans that have been recently approved. I was on the planning board since 2014 to 2021, and pretty much, if not all the master plans that I worked on have places within the master plan where you can have duplexes. Okay. Countywide is in certain locations, and it's mostly in places where there is transit nearby. Like think of Purple Line, bus rapid transit, red lines, the metro, places like that. The University Boulevard Corridor Master Plan is being reviewed right now by the Planning Board. It's gonna get to the County Council next year, and that's a place on University Boulevard where opportunities for duplexes will be
That's
mentioned.
interesting. Excuse me for interrupting, because
No.
that's what I told him. I said, and without even knowing that, I said, I believe their goal is to try to
Yeah.
position these homes close to public transportation. And I said, University Boulevard has a lot, and also Georgia Avenue.
And Bellsmead Road, yes.
Yeah, Veers Mill. And I said, there are a lot of places over there that I think would loan itself really well. So if you could kindly remember my name, Stacy Sauter, then when I have these folks reach out to you, then maybe that'll jog your memory.
Yes,
I
won't forget.
You get inundated with email. That one final thing, and that is that I recently graduated from the University of Maryland School of Public Policy, and I had taken a very keen interest in housing issues and the homeless population and affordable housing. And one of the things that I had wanted to start working on, but have come to realize that there's, far more involved in it than I can manage on my own. I wanted to start a program very similar to when you go to CVS or Giant, and they ask you if you want to round up to the nearest charity, for a charity. And so I examined my contracts that had closed and realized how much money people would be making, or how much they would be donating if they did the same thing on a real estate transaction at a settlement. And so, it would be on average, like $45. It could be up to 100, of course. Or like maybe $95, but it would be completely tax deductible. And the pot of money could be used to go towards affordable housing.
That's a good idea. So but so, we right now, we just passed an update to the recordation tax, and the money being, acquired is going to MCPS for capital improvement projects and also for the affordable housing. But it's not going through like a nonprofit. It's going directly to the government, so we can invest on those two major issues. But if I understand what you're saying also maybe for a nonprofit, maybe HLC, for example, which is the Housing Opportunities Commission. I could flag it, but let me just say, since we just passed a recordation tax, and I got a whole lot of emails saying, Natalie, you are so evil.
And I'm a realtor, so I totally get this. And I had been working on this prior to that increase. But what I had hoped to do was call it Rounding Up for America, because in my analysis of it, it could potentially, if half of the people, that would be a dream, half the people in the country that did a closed a real estate transaction, only residential, it could raise potentially $300 million.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me run it by HLC, and do send me an email, okay? I put it on my chat.
Okay, yeah, I have it. I see it here.
Yeah. So, and I can follow up and see. We do need money in Montgomery County. Let me just say that. We are a very rich county, very wealthy compared to other places in the nation, but we have deep pockets of poverty. We have huge needs. Just think about MCPS. So the more we can raise money, the better. But I also understand. We just finished on the budget with the the county executive proposed a 10% property tax increase.
Right.
What a nightmare.
Yes, that was.
Dropped it to 4.7.
Which was still a lot, but
it's still a lot. And honestly, in my view, it's like, yes, 4.7, but the people who are like struggling, are also gonna be the ones paying for this property tax. So I'm also seeing it that way.
Yeah.
But I was happy that we dropped it to 4.7. At some point, I thought that the lowest we could drop it was at 7.
Oh,
and I understand when I saw that we had the votes for 4.7, I jumped. of happiness.
So that's definitely a good segue to our next year's fiscal budget and things that we can do in the interim, you know, prior to FY25. And, you know, one of those things are, I guess, jobs, right? So in the government's revenue, it comes from two different levers. It's either you increase the property tax assessment of the homes, or you increase the property tax rates. And in the last 3 years, we've done both. And so turning to expanding the base of taxpayers and jobs, you know, one of our questions, second question is, as the head of the Economic Development Committee, can you talk about your plan and anticipated results, and maybe actual number of jobs to grow here in Montgomery County, and what's the mission of the committee in helping us, you know, not experience taxpayer fatigue? And then after that, I'll turn to you, Erin, for your question.
That touches on what I mentioned before, on the whole thing of the conversation that we're gonna have in September on retention and attraction of businesses. At the end of the day, is yes, increasing more housing in Montgomery County, especially in places where it's near transit, but also making sure that Montgomery County has a yes culture. Okay, the permitting service is one example. We should have people in DPS who, if you're an inspector, your job shouldn't be, how can I make sure that, you know, I'm gonna get you.
Right.
How can you make sure that you don't move forward?
Right.
That has been the experience for so many people, especially as Stacy mentioned just now. You know, how can we change the culture to be a yes culture? Okay, you have this problem. How can we make sure that we overcome that problem and help you? Because if we help you as a business, you know, it's a way to attract more businesses to come in. So that is easier said than done, but it's something that I understand. I'm a business person too. Before I came to the county council, I had my own business, my friends.
Right.
People think, oh, I was just in the parking planning commission. That was my side gig. That was not my full-time job. You know, besides being a mom, which is another full-time job. I had employees. I let it go after I became a member of the county council, but I understand payroll. I understand the need of making sure that I also make money, because I'm not working for free. I gotta pay. I gotta have a healthy retirement account. Like, I think of those things, and so how to make sure that we change that. To me, that's number one. And I'm doing my best to make sure that happens in Montgomery County. I just told you something that I haven't even shared with the rest of my council members, colleagues, the idea of perhaps moving HHS permitting when it comes to restaurants to DPS. And it's all about that, making sure that the restaurant scene is great and is strong, and we have quality of life in Montgomery County. That's what we want. So in many of these issues, sometimes, and this is another thing that is really frustrating, sometimes it's not even county policy, but it's a statewide issue that affects the county, things that we can't do without the state. Yeah, I know that was a long answer, but it's
no, but that's good. And I think there would, you know, on behalf of the Montgomery County Taxpayers League, where we are hopeful is that as part of the Economic Development Committee, that you know, we focus on increasing the taxpayer base and getting people that either are underemployed or unemployed into you know, jobs that would generate additional taxes, whether it's payroll or property tax or, you know, income tax, things like that. And so we do.
You know what else I was thinking, and I haven't again shared anything with anybody. Early childhood education. Yes, I know this county has done things in the past, but as a mom, you need childcare to get to work. I mean, talking about economic development, when my kids were in kindergarten, these kids were reading as a second grader level, at a second grade level when they were in kindergarten. The kids are not geniuses. They're not. They were in early childhood education since they were 18 months old. Okay. So it's giving that opportunity to all kids. So, and that will cost a lot of money, but it's an investment towards the future and to make sure that we have a strong workforce in Montgomery County. This county, and this happened in session in ECON. I had folks working for the Mark Elrich administration saying to me, in the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation saying to me that this county has not invested
Right.
in early childhood education. It's a problem. So it's all connected. So anyway, so I don't, stay tuned, because I am hoping to do something about early childhood education, if not this fall, early next year, just because I'm still traumatized with my housing bill that just passed. I need a break.
Thank you. So I'll turn it over to Aaron. Please ask your question.
Oh yeah, I actually feel. Good evening, council member. First of all, and thank you for your time. I know you've had a long day. I just want to just say, first of all, I appreciate what you said about the arts. I live at Forest Glen in Georgia, so I spend a lot of time in Wheaton. And this weekend, we actually just went to Imagination Stage, which put on a show for kids with special needs, and it was wonderful. So I just want to say, I really, Esther, I don't know if you knew that, but that did happen. So I do really appreciate what you said on housing. Okay. And I feel guilty because I know you're exhausted with this, but on rent control or rent stabilization, I am against it for a variety of reasons that I won't get into, and I won't waste your time. Be that as it may, it is passed, it's done, and here we are. My question really goes to data collection. If it comes to pass that rent stabilization, as it's called here in the county, is actually really having an impact on development, on housing, on the economy. Number one, how are we going to make sure the county executive provides thorough, timely, and transparent data on various economic indicators, number one? And number two, what I would encourage you to think about is when the county executive submits regulations for council approval, I hope that the council will build in sort of robust reporting and accountability measures in terms of data. So that way, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we can actually see trends, we can see data points and understand the real impact of this legislation. So I'm wondering, that's a long way of saying, how can the council hold the county executive accountable for timely data and transparent submission of data? And if it does appear that rent control in some fashion is actually having a dramatic impact, let's say, I hope everything goes great and there's no impact whatsoever and everything is wonderful. But if there is there some sort of threshold or cutoff that the council would consider in the future whereby, okay, we need to take another look at this? So I'm sorry for the kind of long and winding questions, but I wanted to get it out there. And thank you very much for your time as well, council member.
Aaron, I appreciate your questions and your comments. I am 100%. I don't think you realize that I'm more aligned with what you're saying that you can realize. I am a pro-growth advocate. I mean, you see my record in parking planning. I get excited when I see a crane happening in my district, and I have no shame saying that, because that means progress. That means jobs. That means that we're putting more people on Metro, because God knows that they need more riders on Metro. So all that good stuff. Believe me, okay? I am not just the chair of the Economic Development Committee. I am a member of the PHP committee. I have developed this relationship with Scott Burton. He's the new director of the Housing and Community Affairs Department, who's going to be tracking everything, okay? And getting us data. That's the biggest challenge that we have in Montgomery County. We suck having data collection. We don't have any data. So this is actually an opportunity to give the Housing and Community Affairs Department, giving them more money for more people to work there, because they do lack personnel to actually work on compliance on landlord and tenant issues, but also giving them the tools they need to have the right software to collect this data. I'm also a landlord. Okay, people don't realize that I'm a landlord. I have properties here in Montgomery County and also have rental properties in Virginia. So I know, And I know how the process today is really embarrassing. So collecting data is key to ensure that we hold ourselves accountable, and that this legislation doesn't do, that doesn't produce negative consequences. So something that I don't know if you know, but the bill that we passed has a 23-year-old exemption, 23 years. So and that is not only if you're about to build, like the law is going to become law actually on April of 2024. Okay. So if you're a developer, if you start your development application, you have 23 years exempted. But not only that, for buildings or properties that were built in the last or being offered for rental in the last 23 years, you're also exempted. Okay, so there have been quite a few studies that have said that rent control or rent stabilization, whatever you want to call it, anti-rate gouging, I really don't care about the name, have in places where you have exemptions in terms of time, those are the places that have been successful with this type of legislation. That's what we did. We also have capital improvement provisions on the bill, so you can be exempt for your rental unit if you have capital improvement projects that you need to have in your unit. Also, if you spend more than 40% of the value of the property, you're exempt for 23 years. I mean, this is a very balanced piece of legislation. This is not what happened in Tacoma Park. Don't tell Kate Stewart that I said that. This is not what happened in DC or in, this is like no one in this country has a balanced piece of legislation as we have here. Okay, because of the amount of exemption. And I did that because I do come from parking planning and I do want investment and laser focused in Glenmont. I'm doing a lot of stuff that I won't tell you here, but I'm doing stuff that you're going to learn in a few months about Glenmont, and I'm like laser focused in bringing more investment in Wheaton. I got Governor Wes Moore to in my district about a month ago. That was not easy task, let me just say to you. And it wasn't just about redesigning Georgia Avenue so people can walk, bike, roll, and drive. That's an economic development effort. I had WMATA, the metro, in that meeting with Wes Moore, talking about their vision for Wheaton and bringing investment. Okay, when you have streets that are safe for people in terms of access, it's great for businesses around the area. And on top of all that stuff, the whole conversation on public safety. If people don't feel safe going out, then you have nothing. Doesn't matter how beautiful the building is, but if people don't go out and spend their money, and I want people to spend their money in Wheaton, then you got nothing. So you got to combine all the stuff. So all that stuff to tell you, I hear you. I'll be the first one. And I said this in session, both in PHP, in committee full session, and in private and in civic groups like this one. I will be the first one saying, let's go back and talk and update the rent stabilization bill if I see trends that are not, in the way they should happen. But the other thing that I really want to highlight here, that having rent stabilization is good for workforcemen. Okay, teachers, firefighters, middle-income people in general, they're struggling. Those wages are stagnant, and the rents are going up. I heard from person to person telling me that they were getting. I have people send me their the contracts that they're getting for renewals in their apartment buildings or their homes or whatever, asking for 15-20% rent increase. That's a big deal. It's a lot of money. So I gotta think about them too. So look, I know not everybody's happy, but I think honestly that I was able to have a balanced bill, and getting 7 out of 4. Honestly, I thought I was gonna only get 6 votes. I ended up with 7. I'm just happy about that one too. I don't think we're gonna have a controversial bill or such complex bill anytime soon, or so I pray. At least it's not coming from me. I'm done. And we will monitor the whole thing. And I am asking you, if you see something, please let me know, because don't make the assumption that I get everything, that I know everything. I know, long answer again. I hope I made my point across.
No, you did, and I appreciate that. And again, when the county executive sends you the regulations,
Oh, we're gonna revise them, believe me.
I hope you go through it with a very fine-toothed comb.
I will.
And
This is my baby, this is my bill, believe me. And he and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
no, I know. Well, again, thank you for your time, council member. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron. So the next submitted question that we have, and then we'll turn to you, Zaim, is turning to the Alcohol Beverage Services, ABS, previously known as Division of Liquor Control. So it's maybe a two-part question. So how can the ABS, general fund transfers, that weakens ABS working capital position and pay-go capital investments be justified? And are ABS capital investments sufficient and prioritized based on return of investment? And so I think Montgomery County is very unique where it's a monopoly, right? To have ABS is the only wholesale distributor in the area. And so have we considered privatization and how that may improve from a financial perspective of the county in, not having that be a government function?
Okay, so that is definitely, it has been discussed in previous councils, right? Just breaking the monopoly. The issue is actually a state law. It's not really Montgomery County. That's one of the first obstacles. It is under my committee. And I will tell you, I don't like it. And I know former council member Hans Riemer was working on this a few years ago, and that went nowhere. And I even don't like the fact, and I brought this up during the budget. If you look at the budget discussion in ECON, when we talked about alcohol and beverages services, I tried, and I have no support. I tried to, because right now the county is paying for taxes. Like if you're gonna go buy alcohol in Montgomery County, the taxes is actually we get that we are paying for them as a county, and it bothers me. Like if you're gonna buy alcohol, you should take care of that. All the transactions for I said taxes, the transaction for credit cards, that's what it was. The transactions for credit cards is paid by the county, not by the individual. So, and that was about $1 million for last year. The county taxpayers are paying. So some folks in the committee saw it that's a part of having a business transaction. You pay for the credit card fees as part of the business, and Montgomery County is the business here. Anyway, I didn't have any support. And that was a way of me opening up the discussion that we shouldn't have this monopoly. Right. But I honestly don't think there's appetite to take on this issue anytime soon. I will not take on this issue anytime soon. I'm instead focused on making sure that restaurants can get the alcohol drinks, like especially those like very unique ones, through the system. At one point, if there's appetite to break away the monopoly, again, it cannot be just the county council. I need to have a state delegation that is willing to do this. So that's how complex this issue is. But if it's a particular drink that you don't get in Montgomery County, let me know, because then I can go and complain.
Okay. I know, Gordy, we had one follow-up to that.
Yes, Natalie, you mentioned that this isn't a top priority in terms of timing, but could you commission OLO to do a study of privatization? And I say that because, if I may, we looked at this issue 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the Department of Liquor Control struggled to provide $30 million a year in profits for transfer to the general fund. It's the same value today, even though inflation has overwhelmed the number. And when we studied it, we found that there wasn't $30 million in profit. We found that alcohol and beverage services was cooking the books by understating depreciation on equipment and trucks. And that when they transfer $30 million to you, they are depleting their working capital and their ability to sustain the business. This is a hollow promise. And the only reason it's going on, you know this, is because of the 350 or so McGeo employees who think that they've got a sweet deal and that the taxpayer should subsidize them. But this goes beyond a taxpayer subsidy. As you mentioned, this goes to convenience, this goes to selection, this goes to pricing. And when we studied this, we found that 30 million was small beer compared to what was possible. If we were to have 3 franchisees awarded competitive contracts for distribution, we could easily bring in an honest $60 million in licensing fees to the county without the operating risks. So please consider asking OLO to do a privatization study. Thank you.
I promise you, and please email me, Gordy. Is that
Gordy.
Gordy? Please email me so I can have your email. I'm gonna check with OLO, call them OLO because it's cooler. And see when was the last study, and then I can easily request an update. That's not a problem. I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll commit to that.
Thank you. And so I'll turn it over to, is it Zaim? Am I saying that correctly? Please ask your question.
Thank you so much. It's Zion. So before I get to my question, that's as a Muslim, it's deeply concerning to me that I'm paying for alcohol when it's prohibited in my religion. But my question is about the public school system. I'm deeply concerned about the recent changes in our public school system, particularly the removal of the opt-out option for certain curricula. As a resident religious freedom and diversity.
Esther, is it just me?
Additionally, I want to express my concern.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
You're breaking up. Are you able to maybe summarize? You broke up at the beginning of the question.
Okay, let me try. Let me. Can you hear me a little better right now?
Yeah.
Did it get any better at all?
Yes. Maybe turn off your video. That sometimes slows down your bandwidth, and sometimes that helps me.
All right, I'm gonna do that. Thank you. So, all right, perfect. Thank you. So,
Zaim, are you there?
I had written down I'll just tell you what my question was. So, yes, can you hear me?
You're breaking. Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so my question is about the Montgomery County Public School System and the removal of the opt-out option. As a resident who values religious freedom and diversity, I'm seeking to understand motivations behind these changes and how they align with our community's principles. Additionally, I want to express my concerns about derogatory language used by elected officials Mink and Harris. It's disheartening to witness such language from our representatives, and I believe it is essential for all Maryland elected officials to address and denounce such behavior. I would greatly appreciate your insights into these matters. Your perspective as an elected official can help shed some light on these issues and contribute to meaningful discussions about the well-being of our community and its education system. Thank you.
If I understood, Esther, the opt-out, the whole thing about LGBTQ plus, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm staying away from all that. I'm focused on math and literacy.
Right.
We have an elected body for the Board of Education, and I'm not the type of person that will go to the school board to say something. That's just not me. I'm staying on my lane. I guess I'm being very, very diplomatic here. And we do live in an inclusive community, and you guys all know that. I don't want to romanticize that issue and tell you what politicians usually say when they obtain this answer. And Zaim, I think I saw you. If I'm not,
that was me.
At the town hall meeting, I remember you. I was like, wow. Man, this is tough. It has been tough to watch. Okay, and I'm gonna say that to you. And I am just watching, and I know you don't want to hear this from me, and I know you want me to say, Natalie, take a stand on this issue, but I did not run for the school board. I am staying on my lane. I just deal with housing.
I mean, I
told
stay
you
in my
right-
lane at work too, so I completely understand. I stay in my lane when I have to as well. But
and,
when it comes to Harris and Mink, I mean, I feel like everybody, that's just and I said this to everybody. I emailed every delegate, I emailed every county council person, I emailed everybody on the board, and I said, that's not staying in your lane. That's picking a side. When you don't
I
see
know.
something like that.
I cannot speak for council member Meg, as you know. I am my own person. I'm very different from her. And I think I know she has apologized in her way. I thought she made a huge mistake just showing up to that meeting, because it's not her
Right.
problem. It's not.
Hence why you say stay in your lane. I completely understand you saying that.
And but you know
there's
what?
a lot
You
of
can help
religious
me with
communities.
something. You can help
Yeah.
me with something here, because I am a PTA member, and I'm one of those parents who go to the school system and talks to the teachers, and I volunteer. That's me.
Mhm.
And I read to the kids in English and in Spanish. Man, if there's like a particular book or something that people say, this is the, because I haven't, like, I personally haven't seen something like that. I'm shocked. But this is me talking to you as a mom, not, and I respect, I was raised in a household where we respect people from, from every religion. I grew up in Venezuela. I mean, we're a melting pot. On my street, we have Muslims, we have Jews, we have everybody. I'm agnostic, and my parents were Catholic. I've seen it all. My husband lived in Israel. That's like the Mecca of religions. And so this has been a very hard issue, and I don't, and I hope my answer doesn't sound like I'm being disrespectful to you.
No, not at all. I did not
I-
take that in one bit in that
Yeah.
direction. Thank you.
I was really, let me just say, I was shocked when I saw the news articles and everything. I love when we make national news, but not like that.
Yeah, not like that.
Not like that. Yes. Yeah.
What was the other thing you asked? It was, what was the other?
No, that was it.
That was it, right? Okay.
That was everything.
Thank you, Zion. So I think that was the last question from the audience. I have one more if you have time for it, Natalie.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I know. So the last one, maybe public safety. I know that's been big for you in your community. We have some other questions. If you could get an updated batch sent over to you in your office at a later time, if you're able to provide responses. But maybe I'll ask the last one on cannabis legalization. This one's probably more personal for me, but can you please update the community on preliminary data reports on revenue generated? I know initially when we were debating this in, I believe it was in the committee or council, where it felt, Councilmember Balcom said it felt like a bait and switch, and Councilmember Friedson was saying, initially the thought was that we would decriminalize and allow people that are currently in the prison system to be, to get their case reopened for drugs related, and also create a new revenue stream, because the sales taxes on cannabis is higher than the standard 6% from Maryland. And then there was some back and forth as to how much truly Montgomery County would be able to retain from the taxes or the revenues of the sale of cannabis. How is that looking? Is that panning out the way we planned? Is that truly, from a public safety or a revenue generator, is that really kind of panning out the way we anticipated?
I honestly think it's too early to say. I know that during the first weekend of, because this just opened up on July 1st.
Mhm.
We're still in July, right? Yeah, we're still in July. So I haven't received any reports at all. I just know that, I heard this on the news. It wasn't even a council report. We haven't received any council report on this because it's too early. That in the first weekend, it generated like $10 million or something. That's wild. And again, this is one of those issues that as a county council, we had nothing to do with it. It was the state delegation
Mhm.
who was in charge of all the taxes structure and the whole thing, and then it's really frustrating. So stay tuned on public safety. It does scare me because especially for the police, you know, people who are high and driving, or people who work and they get tested. Sometimes when you smoke marijuana, it can be in your system for like 40 days compared to alcohol that is only a few hours or maybe a day. They just call it a day. It's a big issue on within workforce and within public safety.
Right.
So we just don't have data yet, and I know that's one of the goals as a state to have that type of data, and I don't think we're gonna get anything. I was hoping 6 months from now, and I hope so. But if it's for sure within a year, we gotta have some type of report on how things are going. Again, it was a stay Monday because voters voted for it. I'm very liberal, but certain things like this one scare me. I'm not
Yeah.
even gonna lie.
Well,
It
good.
did.
That's definitely
It
good to
did.
hear that.
It did. So.
Yeah, because as someone who I don't engage in recreational drug use, and to each their own for sure. But just ensuring that any unintended consequences, and similar to Aaron's question on rent stabilization, is that we have guardrails, we have measurable things in place that we are able to see, is this truly panning out the way we thought it would? And if not, is there a plan B? Are we going to pivot? Are we on top of it? So that's great to hear.
Are you gonna have like a state delegates in these meetings?
We can, yeah. So far
Yeah.
we have gone with county council and board of education, but that's a great idea.
I would say that's definitely a question for like, I mean, I think if you ask people, like, I would say, you know, I'm not gonna name names, but just look at the committees who worked on this and who's a member from Montgomery County.
Yeah.
That's the one that you need to target.
Okay, no, for sure, we will do that. Thanks for that. Okay, well, we are at 8:15. I think that's the majority of the questions. We are so grateful that you have joined us this afternoon or this evening. Thank you for everyone that's joined. This has been recorded, so we will have it on our website soon. Are there any last remarks, Natalie? Anything that we can help you with as a civic organization to ensure that what's happening in your community is reaching the community timely?
I'm hoping you're getting my emails, and please stay tuned on the ECON sessions. And again, I do need help and ideas and input and all that good stuff. At the end of the day, we don't make changes if we don't work together. And as you all know, coming from the Park and Planning Commission, it was a very diverse planning board in terms of ideology. I worked with 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and an independent. So that's probably why I also have a different
Appreciate it.
on the county council, because
Yes.
I have learned how to work with people who do not think like me, and that's a good thing.
It is, absolutely.
Anyway, thank you so much for having me. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Go eat.
Yes.
Thanks, Esther and Gordy.
Thanks,
Good
Stacy.
night.
Great questions. Have a
Thank you,
good
everyone.
evening.
Night.